gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
And we are following breaking news out of Birmingham, Alabama, where 4 people have been killed in a mass shooting. I'm Michelle Fisher.
And I'm Jory Rand. This shooting happening in the 5 Points South area, which is popular with restaurants, bars, and shops. The local newspaper there say witnesses say many of those victims were standing in line to get inside a popular hookah and cigar lounge on Magnolia Avenue.
And there you have it. Once I heard hookah and cigar lounge, this is really just the club. It all starts to make sense. This is a black on black mass shooting that occurred in Birmingham, Alabama, and it's very sad because these are the mass shootings that ultimately go unnoticed. Okay, these are the ones that ultimately go unnoticed, and the reason why is because it happens so often. Okay, if you go and look at the mass shootings of this year, you'll see that most of these shootings are happening in the black community, and unfortunately it's not getting the spotlight that it should. Now, this happened 6-7 days ago, and the reality is that this story is pretty much dead, and we're finding out all sorts of different things about maybe the motives behind this shooting. So even with that, the new information, we're not getting mainstream news media updates about it.
Birmingham Fire and Rescue apparently transporting 8 people to the hospital. Then others began flooding into ERs around the city. This again happening in a busy, popular Saturday night entertainment district in Birmingham. 3 of those victims reportedly died at the scene. A 4th was one of those victims taken to the hospital where they died as well. We will continue to follow this story and bring you the latest of the latest mass shooting we have seen here in the United States.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox 811 here on the East Coast this Sunday morning. We appreciate you getting all of your breaking news alerts, top stories, and live events from us right here on Live Now from Fox. We're following a mass shooting at an entertainment area of Birmingham, Alabama, Saturday night. We're learning it killed 4 people and injured at least 21 others. Police saying the shooting happened in a Birmingham area just after 11 p.m., known as the 5 Points South. Initial reports saying club patrons were outside a hookah and cigar lounge. Police arrived quickly and found some victims on the street. We're also learning 3 of the 4 killed were pronounced dead at the scene, and another victim died at the University of Alabama Birmingham Hospital. Wow. Now, Birmingham police don't yet know what precipitated this event and whether the...
And honestly, it's probably some petty beef. The manufactured ops thing is real. Crash out culture is real. And these Thug Max Alpha Simps are willing to kill and die over pretty much anything.
The attack was a drive-by shooting or whether shooters were on foot. A Birmingham police officer explains what police know at this point. Take a listen.
We believe that multiple shooters fired multiple shots on a group of people in the 2000 block of Magnolia Avenue. There's no one in custody, and we cannot stress to the public how important it is for us to have information in this investigation. We have reached out to our partners with the ATF. We have reached out to our partners with the FBI. You will have a plethora of law enforcement agencies assisting the Birmingham Police Department. And rest assured, we are going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we uncover, identify, and hunt down who was ever responsible for preying on our people this morning. We were told that all of the victims were out in the open on either a sidewalk or the street. So these group of shooters fired upon these victims when they were out in the open. We were not told that this happened inside of any business. This was on either a sidewalk or a city street.
Was this a drive-by shooting, or were the shooters on foot as well?
Our detectives are working to confirm whether the shooters walked up on the victims or drove by in a vehicle. And that's why we need the public's help.
All right, so that was the very latest from authorities in that area, and they go on to say they think the weapons involved could be switch-use guns, which are weapons that can be converted to fully automatic weapons. They're asking anyone with information or surveillance video to call Crime Stoppers. The number for that area is 205-254-7777. Again, this is breaking news we're getting this Sunday morning coming from an area of Birmingham, Alabama, a mass shooting. At this time, 4 dead, at least 21 injured. As we get more information on this breaking news alert, you'll be the first to know right here on Live Now from Fox.
A mass shooting in the U.S. state of Alabama has left at least 4 people dead and dozens wounded. Police say multiple shooters fired on a group of people in the 5 Points South district of Birmingham just after 11 p.m. local time. 2 men and a woman were found dead at the scene.
Even Great Britain is looking at us like, what the heck is going on here?
A 4th victim died at a local hospital. These are the latest pictures we're showing you now. Dozens of people were wounded, with at least 4 sustaining life-threatening injuries. Police have not taken anyone into custody as far as we know right now. And in the last few minutes, we have heard that President Biden, according to reports, has said that he will announce a new executive order on gun laws. Again, we don't have any specific details on that now, but let's recap again some of those major lines, as this is a fast developing story, with our news correspondent, Steve Nibbs. Steve, I know we mentioned some of it now, but for people tuning in and just to recap this event, what is it we know?
Yeah, we know that 11 o'clock last night in Birmingham, in Alabama, in the 5 Points South area. This is a really busy part of the city, popular with bars and restaurants. There would have been a lot of people around last night. Police say that a number of shooters fired multiple rounds into a group of people in the streets. As you say, we know that 2 men and a woman died at the scene, with a 4th person passing away in hospital. Dozens of other people were injured in this attack, and 4 people are in hospital with life-threatening injuries at the moment. We know, as you say, that no arrests have been made. There are a number of agencies involved in this investigation, including the FBI. They are actively looking for the people responsible, and obviously looking for a motive for the attack. But this is the breaking news we've had in the last hour of this latest mass shooting in America.
And could you give us a reminder, Steve, about how many mass shootings there have been in the past year, and also how that's exactly defined?
Yeah, there's an organisation called the Gun Violence Archive, and they compile statistics on incidents like this. And they define a mass shooting as an incident where 4 or more people are injured. And
there you go. So a lot of people try and dispute me on the 4 or more definition of mass shootings, but it has been confirmed over and over and over again. Yet people are trying to redefine what a mass shooting means, but it just means 4 or more people killed in one setting. And this is the definition of a mass shooting. I don't care if it was a gang member behind the gun or some 15-year-old virgin white kid behind the gun. Either way, if 4 or more are killed in the setting, it is considered a mass shooting.
Say that this incident in Alabama brings to 403 the number of mass shootings in America this year alone, and that compares to 656 last year. And as you say, we've just heard that the President Joe Biden is going to announce a new executive action on gun violence. We have no other details on that at the moment, but obviously this comes at an important time with the US election coming our way later this year.
Happening today, community members will gather in 5 Points South for a special vigil in honor of the victims of Saturday night's mass shooting. They will meet at 5 p.m. for a Stop the Violence discussion and a prayer for peace. In central Alabama, emotions are still running high. 4 young people killed in a barrage of gunfire Saturday night in 5 Points South. Their suspected killers still on the run 4 days later.
Pastors, we are sick and tired of having to bury our young people. It is not designed that way. God did not intend for it to be that way. He intended for our kids to bury us.
The effects of this mass shooting go far beyond the city of Birmingham. Congresswoman Terry Soule expressed her condolences to the families of the victims. She urged lawmakers to pass what she believes are common sense gun laws to protect not just Alabama families, but Americans everywhere.
This horrific tragedy has focused the eyes of the nation on Birmingham.
So as you can see, the Democrats are rushing to, use this as a political talking point, which I'm not necessarily mad about because that is what we're doing on this channel, but they neglect the fact that this is a mainly communita issue, okay? And it really is concerning that they're trying to take all of the firearms from law-abiding citizens and leave us essentially naked and not able to defend ourselves from the idiots who will continue to commit these types of crimes, whether it's legal or not. If you just look at all of these Democratic cities, states that have outlawed guns, it doesn't stop guns from getting into those areas, and therefore the laws in that regard, banning guns to stop crime, doesn't work, because you see in the Democratic cities that have banned guns, like New York, like Chicago, where they make it very difficult to get firearms, you don't see a change. As a matter of fact, you see an increase in the incidents with firearms.
Alabama. The surge of gun violence is a reality that far too many of my constituents endure every day. Our communities are crying out for change, and we as elected officials owe it to them to do all that we can at every level of government to keep them safe.
City leaders plan to increase security along 5 Points South as police still look for the gunman in this mass shooting.
Representative Alan Treadaway says a bill allowing the state to take over local police departments is gaining support among lawmakers. Senate Bill 3 was pre-filed back in June. It would allow the state to take over a municipality's police department due to public safety concerns. He feels a shortage of police officers is why there is so much violent crime. Legislators specifically had Birmingham and Montgomery in mind when drafting this bill.
They're sick and tired of the crime. They're sick and tired that every time a mass shooting or tragedy happens, one of these mayors gets on TV and makes excuses and points fingers at the legislature about passing specific laws.
Last year, the State House of Representatives did pass a ban on Glock switches. Treadway feels confident the bill will be voted on with bipartisan support come February. A committee was formed by the House Speaker to address violent crime is set to meet this Thursday.
This is WVTM 13. Breaking news is happening right now.
And it is 2:01 on a Sunday morning, September 22nd. I'm Jarvis Robertson here with Gladys Bautista. We continue to follow that breaking news, a mass shooting in Southside, 5 Points South.
And what we know so far is that 4 people are dead, 4 people are critically injured, and dozens of others also injured when police say multiple shooters opened fire on a crowd standing outside. It all happened on Magnolia Avenue.
Yeah, now police say that there are several victims in this situation. As we know, dozens are injured. Some have life-threatening injuries. Some have various injuries. We do want to get out to WVTM 13's Zoe Blair. She is on the ground for us right now following the latest. Zoe, tell us what you are seeing around you now.
Yeah, Jarvis, Gladys, you can see here behind me, Birmingham police are still investigating this mass shooting. It happened just after 11 o'clock last night. I'm told that it happened back that way on the other side of the fountain. Somebody opened fire on the sidewalk. Birmingham police told us that dozens of people got gunshot injuries from this. 8 people were taken to the hospital, 4 people are dead. There are still tons of people out here looking for their family members and some of them are just trying to get back to their cars to get home. Many of them are still looking for answers on what happened. Birmingham police say that they do not have anyone in custody right now, but they're still working to find out what happened. Back to you guys.
All right, Zoe, thank you so much. And from what you can see from that scene, it looks like there is police tape all over the place. Police have said that dozens of the victims are at various hospitals. So right now, it just seems like this is a really fluid situation.
A very fluid situation. And keep in mind, this happened on a Saturday night when there are a lot of people out in 5 Points South. As you can see from that crime scene tape that we just saw around Zoe, police, they're going to be there for some time. Again, they say that a group of people started firing at people who were standing out in the open.
And something interesting that police said, they said that they could not say how many shots were fired, but they do believe that Glock switches were used, and we know that
So Glock switches are illegal. They were used. Therefore, gun control argument, the ban Glock switches, ban gun, ban assault rifles, ban machine gun argument doesn't work here, because even though they are not legal, they were still used.
Has been a major issue for the Birmingham Police Department, for federal partners as well, dealing with the regulation of these Glock switches. We also heard from police chiefs last week, even saying that they're working right now at the state level to make those Glock switches they believe were used in tonight's shooting illegal at the state level, because right now they're only illegal at the federal level.
And for some time, that Birmingham city leaders, they have been working to get these Glock switches off the street. Birmingham Mayor Randall Whiffen, he has been very vocal, even not too long ago, within the last couple of months, posting on social media saying that we are coming after the people who use Glock switches. Now, keep in mind, once he made that post, there were some people who decided to think it was a joke. They posted Glock switches, posted them shooting Glock switches. And guess what? He posted that. Police, federal partners, they went after those people. We did have a chance to hear from some people who were on the ground out there that night that walked up shortly after the incident happened. Take a listen.
Very scary. Very. Like when I walked up when it was like just ended, because everybody was screaming, there was people crying. Police officers, they was trying to get information from different people. So they just was trying to do their job and I guess get the aid and information that they need.
And you said you saw some people carried out on stretchers?
Yes, ma'am. It was literally probably about 6 to 7 people, males and females, that was coming out on stretchers, and it was ambulance coming back to back. So it was definitely a bad crime scene. For the 5 Points area. You don't see stuff like this, just you going out to have a good time and you walk up on something like this. So it's very rare that you see something like this very close to home, so just kind of sad for, the public and the family members and friends of the people that got wounded.
Yeah, and so does this make you rethink you wanting to go out down here or anything?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. A guy walked by and he said, this is the main reason why I stay at home, And I know things can happen no matter where you go, but you just have to, be mindful of your surroundings and, use your best judgment. And like I said, I was going to come out earlier, but I didn't. I kind of lagged around, and it was a reason. So everything happened for a reason. You just have to know when it's time to go, or it's time to go to another location, because this area here lately, the past couple weekends, it's been getting bad. It's been getting bad.
Wow, can't even imagine what that must have been like. So happy that that gentleman that she spoke to is okay, but we know that that's not the situation for so many other people. And he talked about people getting carried out on stretchers. On my way in here, I passed through that area. Police say that the area that I came down, which was University Boulevard, he said that this area right now, we had to establish a perimeter so that the medical vehicles, the ambulances, could get out and have a pathway out of that. That is, just to give you an idea of how populated this area was when all of this happened.
Yeah, we know that, again, a lot of people are out on the weekends in 5 Points South in Birmingham.
Yes.
Again, we do want to reiterate that this happened just after 11 o'clock last night. Birmingham police say that several shooters opened fire on a crowd of people. We know that unfortunately 4 people are dead. 4 people have life-threatening injuries, but dozens of people have various injuries. Multiple people have been taken to the hospital right now. Multiple first responders still being dispatched to that scene, trying to just get everything under control. Now, the motive for the shooting is still unclear at this moment, and that is the one thing that people will be looking for.
Right, and then when you think about this entire area that police now have to sift through to try to find their evidence. When they're talking about Glock switches, you're talking, we don't even know the number of shots that were fired, especially when you're talking about a switch on a gun like that from multiple shooters. So police have they're going to have a lot to deal with today.
What's interesting about it with those Glock switches, once they install them on a typical handgun,
right?
I mean, it can fire rapid succession for hundreds of bullets. So, I mean, Birmingham officials, after tonight, they're definitely going to be pushing even harder to get these off the streets.
Right, and we heard from police. They said that right now they want to find those shooters and they're going to hunt them down and make sure they are brought to justice.
And really quickly, I do want to reiterate what the gentleman said, that it's sad. I mean, just looking across Facebook right now, there are a lot of people posting, this is sad. Birmingham, we have to do better. So this is a community that is hurting by gun violence.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, and right now, we don't know how it's going to end.
And we don't even know how many people have been affected. We will continue to follow this developing story for you. We have crews on the ground there at that scene. We're going to be updating this throughout the night.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetizing shadow banning this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time.
Good evening. We're coming on the air with the Alabama manhunt for whoever's behind what police describe as a possible murder for hire plot.
Woo! Now we've gotten the real details and the real motive behind this mass shooting. Apparently there was a hit put out on somebody who attended this club, a murder for hire plot, which is very scary, especially if you are in that area and you weren't the intended victim. Very scary. And this just goes to show that life means nothing to the community. Where is Black Lives Matter? Where is the Black Girl Magic, Protect Black Women Brigade? There were Black women who were killed and shot and severely affected in this shooting, but no Black entities, NAACP, any of these movements are coming out and trying to represent these women and men who lost their life and were injured on this day. Okay? And that contributes to my theory that this is part of the op culture, the crash out culture. Okay? Somebody made an enemy of someone and I guess they hired somebody to murder them. And the community knows who did it. Come on. Community knows who did it. They know who's behind this. The hood ninjas who were behind this are out in the streets. They bragging, they talking, they smashing chicks, smashing women and pillow talking and telling them, yeah, we just did that hit. You heard about that shooting, that mass shooting? I ain't gonna say we did it, but we did it. I'm telling you, that's how these Thug Max Alpha Simps are bragging to the community, and it spreads and everybody knows who done it, but nobody's willing to come and be a witness, and partly because they're afraid for their safety, but and another part of it is that they're okay with it. They accept it. Long as it ain't me, right? Long as it ain't nobody that I know or love.
That led to a mass shooting in Birmingham. 4 people killed, 17 others hurt. Dozens of shots fired in that alleged targeted hit. You can see the chaotic scene overnight outside a cigar lounge not far from the University of Alabama at Birmingham. The search is now on for multiple suspects, with local police working with federal law enforcement and the mayor pledging to do everything they can to take these killers off the streets. Our Priya Shrithar is there, and a warning, some of this footage is disturbing.
Tonight, an urgent manhunt underway in Birmingham, Alabama, after authorities say shots were fired outside of a hookah and cigar lounge in a crowded entertainment district just after 11 p.m. Saturday night. Officials say multiple suspects got out of a vehicle and opened fire, killing 4 and injuring 17 others.
You got to go that way.
You have to go that way.
Authorities believe the attack was targeted and say a fully automatic weapon was used before the suspects fled the scene by vehicle.
We believe the individual that was targeted is among the deceased. We believe that there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person, as far as, someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed.
Tonight, officials relying on the community and using surveillance video in their search.
We know that there are people in our community who do have information, who know who's responsible, who know what led up to this.
Derek Gunn was near the scene last night.
At first, we thought, what was that? A backfire or something? And then we heard 2 or 3 more, and then we heard the bap, 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 and literally everybody on the patio, we hit the deck. We hit the ground.
And as this community grapples with the tragedy, the search for the suspects goes on.
Our desire, our priority is to take killers and shooters off the streets. We owe it to the victims. We owe it to the victims' families. We owe it to the victims who are no longer with us.
So in this case, there is no white boogeyman that we can blame. The mayor of Birmingham, Alabama is a black man. So we're going to talk about systematic this, systematic that. Not saying that it doesn't exist or it doesn't affect people, but in a lot of cases that we try and blame on systematic oppression and systematic and poverty, it just doesn't pan out. The shooters are getting paid to delete somebody. They're getting a bag from this, and they're willing to do it again and again and again to make money. It's not because they broke, it's because they love this shit.
Our desire, our priority is to take killers and shooters off the streets. We owe it to the victims. We owe it to the victims' families. We owe it to the victims who are no longer with us.
Priya is joining us now. And Priya, officials think the shooters are still in Birmingham?
That's right, Hallie. The police chief tells me he does believe the suspects are in the Birmingham area, and this could potentially be gang-related, but of course, they're still investigating.
We have a crew standing by with the latest updates as police continue to search for killers in Saturday's deadly shooting. In total, 21 people were shot, 4 killed, 17 others hurt. Today, we learned 12 of the victims who were hurt are now out of the hospital, while 5 others are still being treated. Local and federal officials say they've received more than 50 tips in the last 24 hours, and they're now offering a 6-figure reward. Throughout the show, you'll see a QR code on the bottom of your screen. You can scan it to give police any information that helps them arrest the gunman in this case.
We're going to continue our coverage with WVTM 13's Lisa Crane, live and local in Birmingham, where the community is in mourning right now, Lisa.
Yeah, there is an area right behind me in front of the Hush Hookah and Cigar Lounge here where folks have been coming to pay their respects. They're dropping off mementos for the victims. It's kind of difficult to see from this perspective, so take a look at some video we shot just a few moments ago of the flowers, the cards, the balloons, all the stuffed animals that have been dropped off here. Many of the people coming to pay their respects didn't know any of the victims, but they say they are touched by the gravity of 21 people being shot here. Now you're taking a look at the victims killed in that shooting. They are Tahj Booker, Carlos McCain, Anitra Holloman, and Roderick Patterson Jr. And we spoke with Tahj.
So these are the victims: Tahj Booker, Carlos McCain, Anitra Holloman, Roderick Lynn Patterson Jr. All black men and a woman. 18 more injured. And this directly affects the black community. Now, I'm not going to cap. There's a few of these guys out here who look like Thug Max Alpha Simps, no cap. But that doesn't mean that they deserve to die in this way. If they committed crimes against another black man, they deserve justice. They deserve justice, not death. And if they took someone else's life, then they deserve capital punishment distributed through the state and the justice system. But ultimately, we are dealing with a complete obliteration of the black community at the hands of black men, and it's very concerning.
Tahj Booker's aunt today, her only son, Tahj's cousin, Roderick Patterson, was with Tahj in that line Saturday night. He was also shot. He is in the ICU right now, but his mom says she believes he will survive. A very difficult time for that family. Now, WVTM 13's John Papke is following the investigation into this case. He's at the South Precinct right now, where officers were actually dispatched from. And John, is the public helping solve this case?
Well, Lisa, even before this morning's press conference with the mayor, the police chief, and the FBI, the Crime Stoppers branch locally had already received at least 50 tips from the community, and that was before a huge historic announcement that actually provided an increased incentive for more people to step up. Now, the investigators in this case are recruiting the public's help to actually bring the shooter or shooters to justice. 21 total victims, 4 died, 4 more suffered life-threatening gunshot wounds like we mentioned. Today, police confirmed that a dozen of those victims have been released from the hospital. As of this morning, no suspects were in custody, but Crime Stoppers has announced a $50,000 reward. You heard that right. It's its largest ever, which goes to anyone with information which leads to an arrest. On top of that, the FBI is willing to match that amount for a tip which puts the shooter in prison. Birmingham's top FBI agent hopes those with a key to the case will pick up the phone.
The purpose of that is to ensure that we root out the most violent and heinous individuals that seek to bring violence to our communities and neighborhoods.
Now, if you do want to help out, all you have to do is scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen, or you can call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or email tips@fbi.gov. Now, Saturday's mass shooting just adds to a traumatic year for the city of Birmingham. Right now, the city is on track to record 156 murders in 2024. That would make it its deadliest ever. Lisa?
All right, John, thank you very much. Again, the tragedy happened just outside the Hush Lounge you see here behind me in 5 Points South. The owner of that lounge posted a statement on social media today. It reads in part, "It is heartbreaking that a moment meant for gathering and community was shattered by such a tragedy. As we all process this, we must continue to support each other, hold space for those in pain, and work towards fostering peace and safety in our communities." And one of the victims hurt in Saturday's shooting is Gabriel Aslami. He is now home recovering after a bullet tore through his upper thigh while he was running away. Aslami told WVTM 13 just how quickly his night of fun turned into a night of terror.
It was a high school reunion. There was about 4 other high schools out there. We all had picnics prior. We all agreed to go out that night, and we all agreed on Hush. So when we got there, everyone was like catching up, laughing, hanging out, talking. You can hear the music from inside playing. It was a positive vibe, and then there wasn't.
A Centerpoint mother says the mass shooting last weekend brought back horrifying memories of the night that her son was murdered 2 decades ago. WVTM 13's Lisa Crane is live and local in 5 Points South tonight. Lisa, she started an organization to guide other parents facing the same grief.
Yeah, it's called Parents Against Violence. Her name is Carolyn Johnson Turner, and she lost her oldest son to gun violence 2 decades ago. But she says the sorrow and the grief she feels are still very fresh. And events like the mass shooting that happened here on Saturday night really stir up all those emotions again.
So many other kids have lost their life.
Carolyn Johnson Turner says the night her son was murdered, everything changed.
I wrestle with that still. It's been going on 21 years, and it still is very hard to deal with that.
Rodriguez was 20 years old when he was pulling up to a party. An altercation nearby escalated to gunfire. He was shot in the head and killed before he ever got out of his car. Even 2 decades later, Johnson Turner says events like the mass shooting bring back the emotions she felt as if it just happened.
It just brought everything back home for me because my son was murdered that way. He was going to a birthday party to have a good time, and someone was shooting. He wasn't the intended target and took his life and devastated my life.
To try and heal from the loss, she wrote a book. It's titled When Your Child is Murdered.
I had to find some type of outlet to get some of this grief, hurt, and devastation out of my heart. It was killing me, to be honest. I wasn't doing well with it. It was consuming me.
She says the only thing that's helped is that the book seems to be helping others who must sadly follow in her footsteps. She says she believes the raw truths about her own journey could also serve as a wake-up call to young people about the devastating reality of gun violence. She's hopeful after this most recent mass shooting, everyone will unite to try to come up with solutions.
I don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers, but together we can do this.
Now, Johnson & Turner says sadly she knows exactly how the families of the victims who were killed here Saturday night are feeling right now. She says at the very least she is hopeful this will be a catalyst for change. Live in Birmingham, Lisa Crane, WVTM 13.
Right now, officials in Alabama are searching for the gunman who opened fire on a crowd of people Saturday night, killing 4 and wounding more than a dozen others. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has the latest.
Police are on the hunt for multiple suspects who they say fired into a crowd in a busy entertainment district in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 and injuring more than a dozen. It was around 11 p.m. on Saturday. Police racing to the city's historic 5 Points South area near the campus of the University of Alabama at Birmingham, finding at least 21 victims. Video showing a harrowing scene, victims laying on the sidewalk. Police now saying at least one of the 4 people killed is believed to be an intended target.
We believe that there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person, as far as, someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed.
24-year-old Gabriel Islami tells us he was standing outside a lounge with friends when he heard the gunshots.
I heard the gunshots, I ran. And there wasn't even a few seconds into running, then out of nowhere I just couldn't feel my leg, and I fall. And I get up, because it didn't even resonate with me that I got shot.
Islami recounting those terrifying moments as he recovers at home.
I get up and I kind of turn around and look back, and you just see a horror movie of a scene. I mean, there's bodies on the sidewalk. There's smoke from the guns covering the area.
Authorities say multiple suspects jumped out of a vehicle, opening fire on a group standing outside, and then ran off.
It was just really general chaos and pandemonium. This gentleman just kept screaming, that's my sister.
Investigators now say they believe the firearms involved in the shooting were converted to fully automatic using a so-called gun switch. Around 100 shell casings collected at the scene. Police appealing for the public's help.
The first thing and the priority is to get these shooters, find these shooters and get them off our streets.
Authorities releasing the identities of 3 of the victims overnight. 21-year-old Anitra Holloman and 27-year-olds Tahj Booker and Carlos McCain are among the victims. Local police are now working with the ATF and the FBI as they continue this investigation. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Birmingham, Alabama.
Officials have announced a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of those suspected gunmen.
Behind a mass. Now to Alabama, where police still haven't found the gunman behind a mass shooting in Birmingham Saturday night. 4 people were killed and 17 more injured. Police are now offering a $100,000 reward. Christian Benavides spoke with the mother of one of those victims.
She had a life ahead of her. She had a mom who loved her dearly. That was my best little friend.
Candace Kemp's 21-year-old daughter, Anitra Holloman, was one of the 4 people killed Saturday night outside the Hush Lounge in Birmingham's popular 5 Points South district. Officials believe the shooters were targeting at least one individual waiting in line outside the nightclub.
You took somebody that I really, really love.
Anitra's mom says her daughter was an innocent bystander, needlessly gunned down.
My baby didn't deserve that.
Police say they're investigating whether any of the suspects were armed with a so-called Glock switch, which can turn a semi-automatic weapon into a fully automatic one. Birmingham's mayor says these federally banned devices are a growing menace in his community.
If you have lax gun laws or no gun laws, you put this hand behind my back. If you put us in a situation where gun switches are easily accessible, and you put this hand behind my back.
I mean, gun switches aren't even legal. What is the darn point? It's crazy. You make a law for something that is already illegal, and this just shows that it doesn't work.
Another recent victim of gun violence in Birmingham, Anitra's former partner and the father of their 1-year-old daughter, Skylar. Skylar is now forced to grow up without both of her parents.
I just wonder how you come to terms with something like that.
How do you? I just know that I am going to be the best grandmother that I can be to my Skylar, and I'm going to protect her very, very closely.
Anitra's mother told me that her daughter wasn't able to go out with friends as much as other 21-year-olds because she would often stay home to take care of her baby. She was also a college student studying to be a teacher. So this was a rare night out for Anitra that ended her life. Her partner's killing remains unsolved.
A bright future she now won't have. Christian, thank you very much.
Police in Birmingham, Alabama are still searching for the suspects behind a deadly mass shooting Saturday night. 4 people were killed and 17 injured outside a popular night spot. Officials are offering a $100,000 reward for any information leading to their arrest. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavidez is joining me now from Birmingham with the latest on this case. So, Christian, clearly police are ramping up their efforts to find the suspects. That's quite a hefty reward. What else is going on?
Anne-Marie, good morning. And I should mention that $100,000 reward, $50,000 of that comes from the local Crime Stoppers, and that's the most that they've ever offered for information on a case. We saw that ATF was out here yesterday. They were using canines, they used drones as they searched for evidence. But the search for the suspects in this case continues. Let's sort of recap what happened here. The individuals, the suspects, the shooters are believed to have pulled up right in front of this hookah lounge and jumped out of a vehicle, opened fire on a crowd of about 150 people that were here. Now, they were targeting a specific person. They believe, officials say that they were targeting at least one person, perhaps 1 to 2 people who were here. And yet, because of the type of weapon that they had, they indiscriminately shot into a crowd and ended up striking 21 people in all. We know that 5 people still remain in the hospital. Officials say that at least some of them are fighting for their lives. At this point, that reward is key to being able to find the suspects, hopefully get some information from the public to find the suspects. But you've got multiple agencies that are working on this, and they're searching for the shooters. They're looking through surveillance images. This is a bustling nightlife district, and so you've got a lot of surveillance cameras around here. Officials, no doubt, looking at that, trying to figure out where that vehicle came from and who was inside that vehicle.
Indeed, Christian, and I know you spoke to the mother of one of the victims who died in the shooting. I can't imagine what that conversation was like.
Right, the mother of Anitra Holloman telling us that her daughter, that she was the youngest one killed here, just 21, telling me that, you know, she wouldn't often go out with friends because she had a 1-year-old baby. So she often would just stay at home to take care of her baby. She was also in college. She was studying to become a teacher. And this was a rare night out for her that ended her life.
What a heartbreaking loss, Christian. Thank you very much.
Gang violence and other kind of violence. So it is what it is.